All right. Good afternoon, and thank you for coming on to this week's live stream of Traveling on Everyday Spend. Um, want to thank everybody for their comments and their watching the videos and providing feedback. It really means everything, and subscribing. Just want to make sure to be able to provide everyone the best product possible that's going to benefit you. So I encourage you to please share and provide feedback and questions on the videos and on the live stream, because it really helps me a lot to make sure that I can provide you all the content that you all are seeking. And if you do like anything from this live stream or any of the other videos, please consider liking and subscribing. It means the world to me, and I really appreciate it. But I want to value you and your time, so let's get started. We've got a few things to cover this week. On the agenda, we're going to, of course, start off by looking at credit card offers. We're going to look at Bilt Rent Day, because we now know what is supposed to be special about it. We're going to look at the United Airlines mileage pool program that just started. And I also pulled in for information from British Airways to kind of give a comparison of the two. We're going to look at what's going on with Chase in the Priority Pass restaurant program that we're on a few of their credit cards. We're going to look at the Robinhood Gold card that is kind of gotten some information out about the card, and there's definitely some things to touch on with that one. And then lastly, but definitely not the least, is the Visa Mastercard proposed settlement. It's going to carry a lot of weight as far as what's going to happen with credit cards and the credit card rewards for us as consumers, as well as for us that are in the points and miles game. So let's go ahead and get started. So as far as the credit card offers, we didn't really see anything new come up this week. So a lot of what I'm going to show on here is kind of reminders of what we've talked about in the last few weeks. So as far as American Express, we still have the Hilton credit cards that have limited time offers. That's going to be through April 17th of 2024. I did a review of these credit cards on the live stream for March 14th. I'll make sure that there's a link there, but it's also in the live stream playlist. Second, we've got the Marriott credit cards for American Express. That runs through May 1st of 2024. I did a deep dive review on the Marriott Bonvoy program on that March 7th live stream, and it covered the American Express credit cards as well as Chase, because both of them had some historical promotions. Chase has ended, but American Express still has theirs. And then as far as Chase, we really only have the IHG credit card that's now on limited time offer. We don't know the date that it's going to expire, but if you have interest, take a look at it. Definitely discussed that one on the March 1st live stream. I've got the business version of that card. It's one that I think is a good card to have depending upon where you're at in your journey. And then for Citi, we do have a couple of things to touch on. The Citi Custom Cash, they have a special travel offer right now. And if you're not really aware of the Citi Custom Cash, that credit card provides you 5 times per dollar on the one category that you spend the most in. So if it's gas, if it's groceries, might be an example where you use that card for that statement period, it will go ahead and multiply it 5 times for whatever was the largest purchase category that you had. It's not a card I've gotten yet, but it's definitely on my list to get done because it can really be a good utility card to kind of fill in a category that you may not have a credit card for, and you're not stuck with that same category month after month. So it's definitely one to consider. And what the bonus is on it is that if you'll receive an additional 4 points per dollar on anything for hotels, car rentals, as well as attractions that you book through the city travel portal through June 30th of 2025. So it's got a good long period of time for you to be able to utilize that. And it's a no fee card, so it's an excellent card to consider. And then we talked about the Citi Advantage Platinum credit card. It's on a limited time offer, 75,000 points currently. And we talked about that on last week's live stream for March 20th, where we did talk about that. It does have an annual fee, but not during the first year. So once again, depending upon where you're at in your journey, maybe something worth considering. So that's kind of where, so not a whole lot going on with the credit card offers. So if we move to topic 2, we now move to Bilt Rent Day, which is on April 1st. And for those that aren't aware of the Bilt Rent Day, they normally have a promotion on the first of every month, where the first part of it, which happens every month, is they will double all of their categories just for one day. So dining is normally 3x, and that will be 6x on the first. Travel 2x goes to 4x, and then anything else goes from 1x to 2x, 2 times on it. So it's a really good opportunity to be able to get the most mileage out of the Bilt credit card, and to pay anything that and because of the way it works, when it comes to travel, you're trying to plan ahead anyway, so you can always try to plan for your travel reservations to be done on the first. So that's a good one to be able to do. And then on the anything else on 2x, if you don't have a really good catch-all card for 2x, it's really good to be able to do it for utilities, cable, streaming. If you don't have credit cards that are good for that, it's definitely something worth considering. Now, keep in mind, you do need to have 5 transactions within the statement period for those points to really count. Should not be difficult. Like I said, especially if you don't really have good catch-all cards to be able to collect that 2 points per dollar at minimum. The promotion that they're doing for April 1st is all focused on fitness. So for Bilt members, you will be able to have fitness experiences at different partners that they have at the local studios. It's on a first come, first served basis, featuring Rumble, Row House, and Pure Bar, as well as some others. And that started, as far as the first come, first served, started at noon today. So if you have an interest in any of that, get on the Bilt app, and you will find that there'll be some very good opportunities for you. And so that's the first part of the fitness program that they're promoting for Rent Day. The second part is as far as classes. So Rumble, Row House, Pure Bar, AKT, BFT, Cycle Bar, Soul Cycle, and Y7. Those are ones in which if you get a class, that you can get a additional class. So if you are in the base blue, the base in the silver levels, then you'll get buy one class, get one class free. And then if you are in the gold and the platinum category, you can buy one class and get 2 free. So definitely an opportunity to be able to try something. If you've been interested in any of those studios, definitely something worth looking at to be able to get the most bang for your buck on this. Now, what I would say is notable from a points and miles standpoint is the fact that this is the first month in a few that we've not had a travel related benefit, which is a bit discouraging and a bit disappointing. We'll have to see if this is more of a one-off or if we see this happen in May as well, because one of the great things about this credit card is the outsized value that they've been doing on selected travel rewards programs. depending upon what status you have, that are exceeding the normal ones that we get from American Express, Citi, Chase, and Capital One. But if you're a fitness person or want to try it, this would be an excellent opportunity to try it. So let's look at topic 3, and this is for the United Airlines pool program. Um, what's interesting about this is that they went live originally on March 22nd, but it went down only a few hours later. They had some issues with it. They still have had some glitches from what I've seen on it, but it seems to be running pretty well at this point. And the things you need to know about this program is that you can have a maximum of 5 people, including the person that creates the pool, in the pool part as far as the group. And only the pool leader can redeem the miles on this. And then a person can only be a part of one pool at a time. So you're not going to be able to be a part of multiple pools. And this is trying to restrict from people doing a lot of different, I'll say, games related to points, and to try to make it tangible to family, friends type of thing. Now, there are some items to keep in mind with this pool program, because on the surface, it sounds great that you're able to get other family members and other friends to be able to get their points pooled together. Maybe they only have multiple people only have a few points, but once they get pulled together, something can come from that. And so more options are always good. So that is something that could be looked at. But as far as the things to keep in mind, if you leave a pool, if you've joined a pool and leave the pool, the miles that you contributed to the pool remains with the pool. You cannot pull them back to go back to your own personal account. You can't pull them back to transfer to another pool. So you really need to be careful if you choose to be a part of this type of program. The other thing that you should keep in mind is the fact that you can select the number of miles that you want to share. So it's not an all or nothing thing for this, where all your points must go to the pool. So it's best to be, if you're going to do this, be cautious of the amount of points that you put in the pool at any time. You can always put more into it so that you don't overextend yourself if there are concerns. The third part of this is that the miles in the pool can only be used for United and United Express. You cannot use these towards partner airline redemptions as part of the pool. Now, you can still be able to use your own points that you don't put into the pool to be able to utilize it for partners. But once those miles go into the pool, it is only for United flights. So once again, continue to be careful about that. The next part to look at is that you can reverse a transfer if it's within the first 24 hours. So if you made a mistake on actually making a transaction into the pool, or the number of miles that you put in the pool, you can make a correction on it at no penalty as long as it's within the first 24 hours. But once it's gone past the 24 hours, it's there and there's nothing you can do about it. So I keep saying to be cautious, and unfortunately have to keep repeating it. You do need to be careful with this. The next part is that children can be part of the pool. Now, you might be wondering, well, why is the big deal of children being part of the pool? Well, if you've got children, nieces, your own children, sons, daughters, nieces, and such that are underage, but they are on flights with you and can accumulate points in some kind of way, it's a good opportunity to be able to have those points go towards a pool. So it is an option, but that would be the main reason that you would see from something like that. And then lastly, 90 days. So 90 days applies to if you are part of a pool and you leave the pool, you cannot join another pool for 90 days. And the pool that you left cannot add a person for another 90 days. And this is mainly a thing to ensure that you don't have a lot of jumping around of people into different pool programs. These are really intended to be cases where you are with a group, a family, or a set of friends that you plan on being there for a bit of time with, but you're not locked in. But keep in mind of that 90-day provision. So as far as my thoughts on the United Airlines pool program, options are always good. We want as many options as possible so that each person can craft their own situation that works best for them. And the ability to correct an error is really a good mechanism in that first 24 hours, because I know I've made mistakes that I wish I could have switched back on, that I did not have that opportunity. But once again, before you create or join a pool, you need to have a plan for why you're even doing it. And is it the best option for your particular case? Is it necessary to pool points from a lot of different people, or is it just a simple transfer of points from one person to another that would suit the problem? So don't create the pool if there's not a specific goal in mind that you know that the pool can help accomplish. So that's kind of an overview of the United Airlines pool program and certain things to keep in mind and be cautious about. And as far as topic 4, we now look at British Airways. And I wanted to look at another pool program so that if you're not used to it, you can kind of get more of a comparison. And because British Airways is a very good partner, that a lot of the transferable currencies utilize, and we also can utilize British Airways for American Airlines in a lot of cases. So in British Airways case, there's two parts to their kind of pool program. The first part is a household account. So you can have up to 7 people in your household, and they literally mean in the same address, that can be part of your household account. And this would be using Avios. And as we've talked about before, Avios are British Airways, Aer Lingus, Iberia, and Qatar, where those Avios points are the same and can be used for all 4 of those different programs. So Avios points in the account are valid as long as there's activity every 36 months. And that is part of the same standard policy if it was your own personal account and you have Avios to be able to utilize it, that those points will still be available to you for up to 36 months as long as there's activity. And then lastly, the address of the household account can change no more than every 6 months. Obviously, that's not going to normally be a big deal, so it's not a major issue. But once again, understand the restrictions of that household account. Now, what makes their situation better is because they do have a family and friends component that can be part of the household account. Now, it doesn't appear that you can have just the family and friends without the household account. So for that one, you can basically nominate up to 5 family and friends to be associated with the household account. And these family and friends that are put on the account cannot be changed in the first 6 months. And so what we're once again seeing is these airlines, when they're doing pools, they don't want people to kind of game their system and bounce around constantly. So that's why we're seeing these 90 days, these 6 months restrictions to kind of slow everything down and make sure that people are getting in these pools for the right reason. As far as thoughts in regards to it, same thing. Under the household account, point withdrawals are done proportional to each person's account balance. Now that's different than some pool programs. So, for instance, if you've got 3 people in the group in the household account, and they've got 40,000 points, 40,000 points, and 20,000 points, and you want to redeem 10,000 points, that those points are going to come from each person proportional. So it would be 4,000 from the first person that had 40,000, 4,000 from the second person that had 40,000, and then 2,000 from the third person that had 20,000. So it's not just grabbed lump sum from the pool, it is done proportional. So keep that in mind if you do this type of account and it is disproportionate where one person has a lot more avios in the household account, they are going to be the ones that are going to be putting more of their points in with each redemption that goes on. So as long as you're aware of that, then it's fine. The second part is that you can only redeem the avios to household members and family and friends. So once that account is created, that pool of avios are specifically restricted to the members of the household account and the family and friends account, similar to what we saw with United, which is why making sure that if you're going to have all of your points in this, that you have to be careful with it. And then last but not least, same thing I mentioned on United, be careful when you get into this arrangement. There are cases where this is going to be something that would work and be successful, but you don't want to put yourself in a situation without a plan. So definitely keep that in mind. Topic 5 is Chase in the Priority Pass restaurants, which you may have heard about. What we had a situation of is that when you look at the major credit card issuers of Chase, Citibank, American Express, and Capital One, American Express hasn't had a restaurant component to their Priority Pass. If it ever happened, it's been a very long time. Citi, well, let me actually move to Capital One. We did see for a short period of time with the Capital One Venture X that they had the restaurant portion, but that got removed maybe about a year or so ago. And then Chase, we knew that Chase had it with their Sapphire Reserve, they had it with their JP Morgan credit card, and they also had it with their Ritz-Carlton card, which provided the Priority Pass restaurants. And then lastly, the Citi Prestige card, which no longer can be applied for or exists unless you already have the card, also has that Priority Pass restaurant. Well, unfortunately, Chase announced that they are going to eliminate the restaurant portion for all of their cards, all of those remaining cards of the 3 cards I mentioned, the Reserve, the Ritz-Carlton card, as well as the JP Morgan. That's going to end as of July 1st. And when we're looking at that, as I mentioned, of those different other cards, so they were basically, at least the Sapphire Reserve, as far as flagship card, was really the last flagship card that had this. And so we look at the impacts to the remaining credit cards with the access. We know it did apply to all 3. So that's gone. So I start the other column with not surprising, and it really isn't. It's unfortunate, but not surprising, and mainly because there's no real vested interest for multiple reasons. One, as we've seen, there's no real vested interest for Chase through the Sapphire Reserve as the flagship card to necessarily offer something that its competitors don't. We've seen this with a lot of cases, and we've seen it where even something as simple as we talked about, I think, a live stream or 2 ago, we talked about the fact that people were different airlines were raising fees on baggage, and I think Delta was one of the last ones to do it. And why was that the case? Well, they could have been different by not charging the additional price, but there's no vested interest in being different compared to your other competitors. And so that is the main reason. That's one of the reasons why this elimination of the Priority Pass restaurants is not surprising. The second part is that Chase is obviously doing their build out of the Sapphire Lounge, and those expenses that they're putting into some restaurant fees related to Priority Pass are much better for them to use related to their own product. So it makes the move easier for them to go to do that. So it's not surprising in regards to it. And if you have the Sapphire Reserve or the Ritz-Carlton or the JP Morgan card, when it comes to the Sapphire Lounge, it has extensive flexibility to be able to utilize it. So this is not a surprising thing. I would expect that even for that City Prestige that many people obviously can't get it anymore, I would expect that we'll see that go away pretty soon, even though City doesn't have their own version of lounges. So once again, unfortunate information, but not surprising in the least. And as far as the next topic, Robinhood Gold Card. Obviously, this information started coming out this past week. And of course, the main question we got to ask ourselves is this too good to be true? And the reason I talk about if it's too good to be true is let's look at what's happening. So Robinhood is expected to go ahead and have this gold card be available later this year. It will offer 5% on travel through their Robinhood travel portal that will be existing. And then you'll get 3 points on every other expense with no cap. Now, that is essentially unheard of for that type of situation. Um, I mean, literally, there is nothing else out there like that. So it's definitely something that we have to keep an eye on. And I say that as a person that's a points and mile person and not necessarily a cash back person. But when something is kind of overpowered to something like that, it's definitely got to be noted. There's going to be a Visa signature card, which means it automatically is going to come with a lot of different features, including but not limited to the rental car collision damage waiver, extended warranty protection, travel and emergency assistance. As far as they've already talked about the weight of the card being 17 grams and made of stainless steel, but they are saying that if you end up referring 10 people to the Robinhood Gold, you'll receive a limited edition gold, solid gold card. We don't have any specifics on what that is, and that's why it is in quotes, because we don't necessarily know what it means, but it obviously sounds enticing. So why is this the big deal? Well, like I mentioned, a 3% essentially catch-all card with no cap is unheard of. If you factor in, if you talk about swipe fees slash interchange fees, those are normally 2%, unless it's a premium card. And so they're going to give you 3x on each of your purchases, which means that it's losing money in most cases when you're using it. So it is interesting for a credit card to be a loss leader, essentially, where you're having a loss generated by a credit card because Robinhood is expecting to get additional benefits from people utilizing and getting the card to be able to do more things on its platform. From a non-business standpoint, if you were looking at a good example of a loss leader, if you've ever been to Costco and you've seen the rotisserie chicken, where that price just does not change, that is a loss leader for Costco. That cost for them to do that rotisserie chicken exceeds that price, but they get so much mileage out of people coming in to get that. They see the benefit of other purchases getting done as a result of people coming in for that chicken. It's the same thing that Robinhood is looking for in this case, is that people are going to be interested in that credit card and be a part of the Robinhood platform that may not have been part of it before. And that's why they're willing to take a shot at it, at being a loss leader. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that Robinhood bought the X1 credit card startup, which you may remember, for $95 million. The gold card is actually seemingly very similar as far as the whole 17 grams in stainless steel is the same that I've read that the X1 was. I never ended up having the X1, but that apparently seems to be the same type of model that they were working off of. You can add yourself to the wait list in the meantime if you wanted to, going to the Robinhood website. So is it too good to be true? Well, it's a gamble. It's a gamble for Robinhood because what you're required to do is that you're going to be paying $5 a month or $50 a year to be able to be a person in their gold program. Instead of there being an annual fee, that is the fee that gets you that status to be able to apply for the Robinhood Gold Card. And since it's a trading platform that is jumping into the credit card business, it's a new it's a new model. So for Robinhood, there's definitely risks. For us, it's a case as consumers and people that want to maximize credit card rewards. It's definitely something that we need to look at and consider. We will know more as we get later in the year. We will learn even more once people start getting these credit cards and Robinhood determines, is their model of being a loss leader truly beneficial for them? So there may be only a short period of time if things fell apart, but definitely something to keep an eye on is to see if it fits for what your journey and your portfolio is. So now let's take a look at topic 7, which is the proposed Visa MasterCard settlement. And does it save or does it kill credit card rewards, points, and miles? This may be something that a lot of people were not aware of as far as this class action lawsuit. This lawsuit has been going on for 19, just short of 20 years. And it was the class action lawsuit was brought by different merchants against Visa and MasterCard, basically saying that they monopolized the whole interchange swipe fee and basically almost had people held, these merchants held hostage to only use them. So you have not heard much about it, and I will admit I've not heard a whole lot about it on a not even a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. So it's been out there for a while. But we did talk about some of the legislation that Congress was considering to try to address the fact about this monopoly that Visa and MasterCard has. And we talked about a lot about it in the live stream where we talked about Capital One merging / acquiring Discover and what that impact would be. And so in this case, as I mentioned, this has been going on for a number of years, almost 2 decades. The two have now proposed a settlement to basically address the swipe / interchange fees. And these fees are commonly the second largest expense for most merchants. So it is a big deal for merchants, especially the smaller merchants, for those kind of fees. Um, I think so that is the issue for them. But these interchange swipe fees are a big deal for consumers that have credit cards and debit cards, actually, as well as for us that are in the points and miles game, because some of that revenue goes towards that um, purchase protections, the travel benefits, the points and miles, the ability to do cash back. So it is a big deal in regards to the impact both on the merchants that have to pay that fee. And as we've talked about at one time before, now these fees obviously are being passed on to most consumers. That 2% is normally just now part of the bill. And in one of the videos I talked about, as far as the myths between credit cards and debit cards, was that people that were not using credit cards were paying a fee as part of their purchase that they never got anything from, as opposed to us that are in points and miles. We can know that we can take a credit card that, such as that custom cash, take it to the home improvement store and be able to get 5% back on that purchase that might have charged 2 to 3% on the interchange fee, and we can still get mileage out of it where others that don't have credit cards don't. So that's an interesting thing to be able to keep in mind. So what the proposal is entailing is that it is saying that they're going to reduce the swipe/interchange fee by essentially 20%. So a reduction of nearly 0.04% for 3 years, and then an average of 0.07% over 5 years. Now, the average interchange rate fee is about 2%, but it can get as high as 4% on some of those premium credit cards. Now, what this will allow is it will allow businesses, in addition, to be able to recommend preferred payment methods. And I'll touch on that in a moment. And then lastly, they can choose to apply surcharges to certain credit cards. So when I'm talking about those last two things, about allowing businesses to recommend preferred payment methods, what I'm talking about is they could be able to say that this widget is, if you pay in cash, it's $5. And that's the preferred method. They could say, but if you're using a credit card, it's going to be $6. And they can be able to educate the consumer that, hey, as a merchant, we are paying a fee when you use your credit cards that is costing us. So now we need to pass that on to you. And it could be a hope that with that formal education that they would be doing, that maybe there would be less debit cards and credit cards being used, which would then reduce the fee. People are paying in cash, and it makes it a better situation for the merchant. And so these are tangible concessions that are going on, so that even though this is for a 5-year period, the merchants are going to be able to educate the consumer on different methods and educate them on what it costs them when based upon the choice. Two, they're going to be able to be in a situation where they know exactly what their cost is going to be on these credit cards, and that is something they've not had. They'll have that for 5 years. And that 5-year window is going to give everybody a chance to figure out what is the pathway going forward long term. Now, this obviously still needs to be approved. And then as far as can apply surcharges to certain credit cards, as I mentioned, there are some credit cards, premium credit cards, that might have a swipe/interchange fee as high as 4%. They could now be able to assess a surcharge to a specific credit card if they wanted to. So not just credit cards overall, they could actually identify a credit card specific that might have a higher premium, a higher swipe interchange fee, and be able to address that. So it gives them a lot of flexibility, but it also gives them some assurances. So what does this mean? And of course, when I'm talking about something going on for the last 20 years almost, why now? Well, I think that there's a few things that have kind of moved this thing along for this to potentially happen. And the proposed Credit Card Competition Act. We've talked about this as far as the fact that Congress has a similar feeling to the plaintiffs that brought this class action lawsuit, that Visa and Mastercard are so dominant and almost a monopoly that it is not good for consumers. And so the legislation that's been kind of kicked around would basically require other outlets to be able to be required to be part of the options for these merchants, so that they don't have to just use Visa or Mastercard, which might help Discover, as well as some other smaller type of interchange providers. So that's been kicked around for a bit. To a lesser extent, the Capital One Discover merger. Keep in mind that while American Express and Discover are both people that charge interchange fees like Visa and MasterCard, the fire has not been against those two. It's only been Visa and MasterCard as part of the class action lawsuit, and it has only been them that has been identified under the Credit Card Competition Act. It would actually generate more activity for American Express and Discover with that type of law going through. So those things, I think, have kind of moves the needle for a lot. Now, when we talk about 20%, it's only 0.04 and 0.07, and I'm saying only. the reality is we're talking about a lot of swipes. And so the estimation is that this could be $30 billion worth of savings, over this over this period, with this. The That's significant money, to for these merchants to be able to get in savings and then being able to have assurances. Um, these savings, from the Visa transactions, and I made a mistake on here. I've heard it referred to specifically to Visa merchants, but I think it's actually Visa and Mastercard. So I have to kind of take a step back on if it's both, or not. But you're talking about something where, right now, I think it's about $120 billion a year. I think it was 2023, there was about $120 billion in those swipe and interchange fees for Visa and Mastercard. So we're talking about real money, real dollars. And so this interchange fee settlement, what are the potential downsides, and the good parts to it? Well, we don't really know yet. This needs to get approved, and we don't know when that will be. But there's probably a very good chance it's going to get approved. So from the Visa and Mastercard, they when you're talking about for a public company in that have stock prices and such, the reality is having being certainty means a whole lot. And so even if the Visa and Mastercard are going to take a hit on money, at least they know that this is the impact of it, and they led and took care of this. So obviously they've done their homework of what this is going to cost them. How can they recoup some of this money in other areas, as we've talked about, even when we talked about the airlines? It's no different with a credit card company. So they were trying to get ahead of this. And the other part of this is, if this went through, then it I won't say almost, it almost likely eliminates that whole proposed Credit Card Competition Act, which could have much more damage to Visa and MasterCard. But if this gets worked out, then it almost kind of makes that legislation moot, at this point. So everybody's looking to try to get some safety, some assurances, into some certainty, whether it's the merchants knowing how much they're going to have to pay in fees over the next 5 years, that they know they're going to save money over the next 5 years. They're going to be able to attempt, at the very least, to educate the people that are their consumers, to be able to look at the true cost to the merchant of different things, and maybe they might find that they can do less business on credit cards and debit cards. So those are the things, the certainty you get from the merchants. Once again, we talked about the credit cards of Visa and MasterCard having some assurances of knowing what the cost is, how much they may lose in money, but the very good possibility that they're going to stop a legislation that would have hurt them probably much worse. And as far as for us consumers, we really don't know if we're really going to see any difference, to us. Are we really going to see the cost of a rake go down by 2%, because now there's not an interchange fee, or not down by 2%, but it goes down 0.04%. Are we going to see that? Is it going to mean anything? Or does it just mean that there's more money that each merchant keeps? So we don't really know what that answer is. As far as from the reward standpoint, we may see a different model of this, but the reality is that I don't foresee where credit card rewards and points and miles goes away. I think we're already kind of seeing where, especially from an American Express, of how they are really kind of tightening up drastically on who's going to get their bonuses. Now you have to go in order to be able to get all of the intro bonuses. We may see that be spread out more with the Chases and the Cities and the Capital Ones, in regards to their cards. I think the game will change a bit, but the game isn't over. And so we just need to keep an eye out on things, and to be flexible with what's going on. But I don't think it kills. I think it just changes the game a bit. And so we just need to be aware of what the rules of the game are. So that's my thoughts on that program. Now, I will have a video coming out on Saturday. It is going to be a rabbit hole deep dive of the American Express Personal Platinum Card. I have gotten that card, got the bonus, ditched it, and then I got it again. And it's time for me to kind of reevaluate where I'm at with that card, and is it worth me renewing it? Because I thought when I got it the second time that I could get some good outsized value for it, but I don't know. So I'm going through that journey, and I'm taking you with me on it. So whether you have the platinum card, and this might be a good walkthrough for you, or if you're considering getting the platinum, it'll be an excellent walkthrough for you, because there's some different parts of this and some different benefits that you find out that are very good benefits, but depending on how you use the card and points, it may not actually be something that is qualified that you can utilize. So it's, like I said, it's a deep dive, and I think it's going to be very good for card holders or prospective card holders. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and call it a live stream. Thank you so much. And I will be getting this into chapters this evening. And thank you so much, and have a great day.